Hey everybody, it's Mr. Winkle, and today I'm going to talk about making something called an oscilloscope. Um, the word oscillo, or to oscillate, means to change in form from one to another, back and forth, kind of like a wave does, because waves we know go up and down. Scope means to see, and so an oscilloscope is a device that allows us to see wavelengths of things like sound or electricity. A real oscilloscope looks like this. However, we're going to make kind of a homemade version of that. So this is kind of the DIY, do-it-yourself version of an oscilloscope. And I don't have exact plans for this because it kind of depends on what you have laying around where you live. But hopefully, from what I show you, you can get some ideas on what to use. So first thing, we got to think about how this is going to work. We all know, like, if we've all seen a drum. A drum is like a cylinder that has a thin membrane or skin on it. And if we hit that, it's going to make sound waves that are going to move out, and it's going to make vibration. Okay, well, drums actually work in reverse too. If we have just a smooth membrane like that, and there's a sound, the sound makes that membrane move, and that's how our eardrums work. Okay, so that's kind of the principle that we're going to use for this. So the first thing we're going to need is some sort of a circle, and things that work really well for this. If you have like a roll of tape like this, that works really well. If you've got something like a piece of like plastic PVC pipe, that works really well. Or if you have something kind of like a sour cream container like this, you could cut the bottom out of this so it's just like a tube. But we need some sort of a kind of a stiff, round form to start off with. I don't think a soda bottle will work. It's a little bit too squishy, but we need something that's a little bit more tough, that it's not going to squish very well. So once we've got our cylinder, we need a membrane. And two things that work really well for membranes are gloves. So if you take like a rubber glove like this and you cut it up the sides like this, and then cut through the palm, it'll give you a pretty big piece of rubber glove here. If you've got a big balloon, that works too. If you want to make a really big version, you guys know those bouncy balloons that you blow up and you have like the rubber band and boing, 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 boing like that. Cut up one of those. That will work really well. But what we want to do is we want to take this piece of rubber glove or this piece of balloon we cut out, and we want to stretch it over that round shape that we have, whether it's a roll of tape, or it's our yogurt container or our piece of pipe, whatever. We want to stretch it out so it's nice and tight like that. And then probably we want to put some tape around it to hold it. Okay, so put some tape around the outside here to hold that in place. I cheated. I went to the hardware store. I got something that's called a hose clamp. That's just a metal band that I can tighten with a screwdriver, which makes it a lot easier. But if you just tape that on so it's nice and smooth, don't make it super, super tight because we do want it to vibrate, but make sure that there's no wrinkles or tears in it. So you should have something that looks kind of like this right now. And then what we're going to do is either take a tiny little piece of a broken mirror, which you probably don't have laying around. But the other thing you can do is take a little piece of a old CD or DVD, and we want you to glue that right onto that rubber membrane. Okay? Don't glue it right in the center, because what happens, all the waves cancel out at the center. It's something called a nodal point. But maybe put it kind of like halfway between the middle and the edge. So just like a little drop of Elmer's glue or rubber cement. I probably wouldn't use something like super glue or model glue because it actually might melt the rubber. But just use kind of a really simple, like a school kind of glue. And either glue a little piece of a mirror or a little piece of a CD onto that membrane. Okay? The other thing we're going to need is a laser pointer. And if you're shopping at the dollar store for your bouncy balloon, pick up a laser pointer for $1. They've got little laser pointers that have little button batteries in them. Works just fine. I'm going to use a little bit beefier version just for my demo, but any laser pointer will work just fine. So I actually have a little bit fancier version of this that I made up, just because I use this to show other teachers and other students. So here's my diaphragm, or my membrane right here. I just used a plastic container. I stretched my rubber glove over it. I have a piece of mirror that I glued onto the membrane here. And then this part right here, this is my laser pointer. And what we're going to do is we're going to shine this laser pointer onto the mirror, and then it's going to bounce off the mirror and then like onto a wall. All right. And what's going to happen is if we put this next to a sound source, like we put it next to a speaker, or we talk right in the back of this, or take our band instrument and play it right in the back of it, it's going to make this rubber membrane, it's going to move it. And it's also going to move that mirror, which is also going to move the laser that we're going to see on the wall. So this is a little bit fancier version than what you're probably going to build, but you guys have Legos and connects and things like that. You can probably make something that will work for this. So we need to hold this next to our speaker, and we need to have something to hold our laser pointer so it shines right on that mirror and doesn't move. I found that if I take a binder clip like this and put it on the switch of my laser, it keeps my laser turned on all the time. So what I want to do is I want to adjust this so my dot from my laser is pointing right at that piece of CD or right at that piece of mirror. Okay, so you can see probably I got a green laser. It's pointing right to the middle of this. Okay, and so now what happens, anytime this moves, the dot that's on the wall behind where my camera is going to move. Okay, so if I turn this around, you can see on the wall behind me, right up close to the ceiling there's a little dot, which is the reflection. And if I tap this, you can see that dot moves. Okay. Now, where it gets really cool is where we put this against a speaker and we play some music. You might have to turn it up pretty loud. I would put it next to a big speaker. If you have a subwoofer, that's even better. But put this really close to a speaker, turn it up loud. Tell your parents you're doing a science experiment so you can play loud music. It'll be okay. And then check out the wall opposite this. And it actually makes some really, really cool patterns. I'll show you a little example of that at the end of this video. But this is kind of an oscilloscope. It's a way to visualize sound using some really simple tools. So get creative on what you have at home and give this a shot. And we'd love to see your results. So this is Mr. Winkle signing off. Good luck with your oscilloscopes. All right, I just wanted to give you a quick little demo of the homemade oscilloscope with some music. I've got my setup here so you can see my laser pointer right here. There's my membrane with my mirror attached to it. You can see I'm using a green laser. Behind that, I've got a pretty big subwoofer. That's a 15-inch subwoofer. That's going to move a lot of air. And then over here, hanging up, is my super awesome homemade screen. And you can see right in the middle of that screen is my green laser dot right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the lights. I'm going to play some music, and we'll check out how our oscilloscope works. Yeah.